In this video, I'm gonna tell you what is important as a position 4, what is good, what is bad, what you should do and what you should not do. So trust me, listen and watch.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Before we are jumping into a gameplay example, I wanna ask you one question. Are you the person that picks a melee hero in pubs and buys useless items? Or are you the person that picks a range hero and buys normal items so you can trade with your enemies and help your offlaner? If you are the first person, then I need to tell you one thing. You gotta stop. It is so much easier just picking a goddamn range hero, trading for yourself, harassing the enemy, helping your offlaner, and making the game easier for you. I know it's very tempting picking a melee hero because most of them are way more fun than range heroes, and I get that. I was the same person back in the day. You are making the game so much easier for yourself and so much easier for your position 3 player. So change that. Stop picking melee heroes in your pubs if it's possible, and if you're only playing melee heroes and you cannot change it, then keep doing it, but you need to accept the fact that you are just kind of ruining the lane and having way less impact early on in the game. For my example, we are going to watch Mouse against OG. Both of these teams are playing Riyad Masters. That basically means both of them are very good. They're basically tier 1 obviously. And Ari and Narman are very, very good position 4 players. But Ari is playing a range hero and Narman is playing a melee hero, as you can see with Spirit Breaker. And we just watch the comparison a range hero against a melee hero. In a competitive game, it's a little bit of a different situation because they got drafted into this. But in your pub games, you can pick whatever you want. So you are not forced to pick what your team wants. You can just decide you want to pick a range hero and just go for it. So we're just watching Ari is playing with the Slara on the lane. He's kind of chilling with him. He's forcing some attention on him and he's securing the range creep, as you can see. It was pretty cool with his Q. He took the facet so he can just like curve his Q, which I like, and he's just playing active. After that, he has 20 seconds to block the small camp, and he will definitely do this because he knows the small camp is super, super important to block. If he's not having, for example, an Eng or like a Doom on his lane, he just doesn't want to deal with it. And he's doing the right thing. And we are just looking how he's doing it. He's basically just waiting because he knows the Shadow Demon is there, he's watching him, and he's just waiting until he places the sentry. Bam, placed it. Even dewarding the enemy sentry. Perfect. Baiting disruption again. Perfect. He's making space for his Slara a little bit, and he's actually kind of forcing attention from the SD to himself instead of the Slara. The only thing that happened is basically the big camp got blocked, which is not the worst thing. Like, as long you're blocking the small camp, and if the big camp is blocked too, you just need to try to control the lane and pull the wave back. Who needs to do this? Obviously, it's your position 3. The only thing I do not like what he's doing here, he's like going fully around because he's scared the SD is following him, which he's not. And that's why they're basically going on the Slara because he's now 1v2, which is a problem. But if we're just watching what he's doing in the next step, it's basically he's coming back to the lane, helping his Lara a little bit, giving his Lara a tango, I think. I didn't check that. And then he's just like sitting there and trying to bait attention. Shadow Demon is looking at the Lara, as you can see. He's trying to like disrupt him so they can go on him and kill him. But the Grimstroke is in the lane. He's basically just right-clicking the SD. Now he's using his Q, he's keep right-clicking the SD, and SD is dying because of the grenade. Slara survives, everything is perfect. Just because Grimstroke is basically on this lane, he can do this. And he can just like deal with them a little bit. If there is like, let's say, a Nyx, Monkey King, this is never gonna happen. And this will happen in your pubs every single time. Alright, now we are watching what Naman does on the Spirit Breaker. I'm not telling you that this is bad what he's doing. It is good in the situation he's in. But you will just see the comparison of a melee hero to a range hero and how much easier it is to play a range hero. Naraman is going for the wave and just like taking the wave over because he knows he does not want to lane a Tiny and an Eng. Eng will AFK click him and Tiny will out CS the Daxia. That's why he's doing this, and this is good. The problem though is, if you just watch it this, Tiny is gonna have a free wave, but Daxia is also gonna have a free wave. But Eng is just gonna probably follow Spirit Breaker or the Daxia and just AFK click him. This is very good what he's doing right now. He's basically zoning out the Eng so he cannot harass his Daxia. He's giving his Daxia a free path of a lane. The Daxia is not pulling the entire wave into the enemy wave. He's just pulling 3 creeps, so 1 creep is gonna path. But the problem is just, if you just look at the Spirit Breaker gameplay, he's just doing this over and over again. And it just doesn't feel good. And sadly, it is not good. Because you're giving your enemy a free lane, and you're giving the enemy position 1 a free farm. So just think about it. Do you want to give your enemy free farm? Yes or no? Obviously, you do not. And with a melee hero, usually, this is gonna happen. you will suffer and you will struggle laning against them. But if you just look at this, what he's doing the perfect things what he should do. He's blocking the small. The only thing he did not do, sadly, is block the big against an Ench, which is kind of crazy in my opinion. But other than that, everything he did right now is good. But you will see at some point this lane is gonna flip, and Darkseer and Spiritbreaker are not doing much against an Ench and a Tiny, because they are just stronger. And it's obvious. And they are very strong because of the big camp. But just in comparison, what the Spiritbreaker did in these like 2 minutes and what the Grimstroke did on the top lane in these like 2 minutes. It is unbelievable how much of a difference it does just by picking a range or a midi hero. Alright, as a position 4 player, you need to understand one thing. You need to look in the future for like 20 to 40 seconds and you need to understand what is going to happen and what will not happen. So we're just watching Ari right now. He's moving back to top. He's basically thinking about helping his Lara, but he realizes he's not doing anything there. Shadow Demon is top, CK is top. So he's basically just looking out for middle. Because he has time, the Lara has a perfect laning position that basically means Shadow Demon and the CK, they cannot touch him. Slara is just super fine and farms. And Grimstroke has like 30 to 40 seconds time to gank the middle and try a kill. What does he do? He literally just used Q and he killed them. And this is just like a small point of map awareness. He understands that his Slara on the top lane has a full wave in his tower, he can freely farm, and he doesn't really care what the Grimstroke does right now. And the Grimstroke understands that he can go middle after he took the bounty ring. He was thinking about it going back to top, but he just realized, yo, it's not good, I should not do this. Instead, he went for the bounty, and then he went middle. If we are comparing this right now to the Spiritbreaker, for example, he's literally sitting on the bot lane, level 1, especially because he's a melee hero basically, and this lane is just harder. He's not doing anything right now. He's just like sitting there trying to get his experience very desperately, and he can't do much. Like the Grimstroke moves are just stronger than him right now, especially because he's just level 2 right now. And so yeah. The only thing Spiritbreaker like can do right now is basically try a lucky kill around middle or just stack the triangle for his Darkseer so he farm it later on. The next situation in the game is basically the minute 6 rune. This is definitely the most important point for you mid laner. So we're just watching Ari. He killed the Coddle middle and he feels very good and he's thinking about going back to top. But we're just speeding it up. He understands one thing. He was killing the Coddle middle and he understood and he sees the Shadow Demon middle. That basically means there's only a CK top lane against a Slardar. So he just understands the point that he can leave his Slardar completely alone and he doesn't need to be there. And he understands also that the Ember Spirit is the strongest hero in the map currently. If we're just looking at the Ember Spirit skill build, he has Slide of Fist almost maxed and 2 points in chain. Coddle is dying every single time because he has no game. He's level 4 and he's very, very sad. So the Grimstroke just literally stands middle and waits. He also plays a very deep ward, which is perfectly for these situations. Grimstroke and Ember middle, killing the Coddle again, jumping on the ST, killing these guys, everything is perfect. And this is just because he understands that he needs to be middle around his Ember and not top around his Slardar. He could be top, yes, and killing the CK, but just look at this. The Slardar is almost solo killing the CK because nobody's there and the Slardar understands it. And the Grimstroke is just keep chilling around middle. Now, it's getting closer to minute 6 runes, so he needs to even be at the middle as well, and he just needs to be around. And he is, with his Ember together on his ward. And if we're just thinking about it, when did he place the ward? He literally placed this ward on minute 0. Just saying. The fact that he placed this ward on minute 0 just gives you the information that he's thinking about these plays around middle already. So he understands where he wants to be and he understands where to play at what point. And a ward is lasting for 6 minutes. That basically means he wants to be around middle at the 6-minute mark, which he perfectly is. He's around middle all the time and just being annoying for the enemies. And in the meantime, while Grimstroke is killing the enemy middle on the Coddle, we just see the Spiritbreaker is still chilling bottom, even though he knows the enemies are middle and punishing the Coddle. But the problem is, he had no lane, they lost the lane basically, and he's level 2. He just doesn't feel very comfortable doing this, what the Grimstroke does right now. And that is the big, big difference when it comes down to playing a melee hero or playing a range hero.